Hello, my name is Glenn, and I'm going to be talking about Gulf illness when it comes to metacognition. The problem is that a lot of Gulf War veterans like myself, when it comes to metacognition, it is not the same as you would think. So I'm going to explain how this affects a lot of us. I'm not speaking for all of them, but in my case, this is what happened. Okay. Recently, I was given a neuropsychological evaluation. I'm not going to say the name of the doctor, but bottom line, his assessment was, in summary, the hardware is working, but the software is not. Part of the test, I'm going to give you some of the example of the test, right? Part of the test, they would have me blindfolded, and I had to take on a board, just like a little children's puzzle, and I had to match the figures to the empty slots. Now that's easy to do. You know, all I had to do was stick my fingers in the slot, feel around, and know, okay, circle goes into the circle slot. Same thing with rectangle into the rectangle. Another part of the test was you have these pins that you had to spin around. It was a circle with like a key slot. So all you had to do was spin it around and stick it into the slot, match them up. So that's all I had to do on those tests right there. You know, that's single tasking. I can do that. That's not a problem. Now, when it comes to Gulf War illness, mental cognition, one of the big problems that I have is when somebody talks to me, or I reading a paragraph, a book, or anything like that. I don't read books anymore. It's too difficult for me to follow a book. So that's out of the question. But somebody talking to me, or even a simple thing like reading, you know, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. This is what happens, right, with my brain. The message is being received through the ear, and it's being absorbed into the brain and then distributed into the different cells, short-term memory cells. Now, that's fine. You know, you could talk all day to me. The problem comes when I try to retrieve that information back and do a playback. So what happens then, if you look here, you can see that part of the message is coming back. However, there are several of them that are broken off, and what is happening is my brain is having to compensate for that and reroute that message via alternate path. All right? So it's like the neurotransmitter and neuroreceivers, you get a message, you see something, pen is red, right? So, okay, your eyes see it, it goes across the nervous system, it jumps over the bridge, brain absorbs it, pain is red. Now, playback, it comes back trying to retrieve that red. Sometimes it gets stuck in there. You know, the message is coming down, the red message is coming down, but it comes to the end of the bridge and it's not able to leap over. So then the message comes back and tries to find an alternate route. It realizes, okay, I can't jump that far. That's too far from me. So I'm going to have to find a detour to get the message back out. So what happens then by doing that is a lot of the playback comes back very fragmented, as you see down below. Jack and Jill, blank, 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 hill, to blank, blank, pail of water. So the message is coming back, but it's coming back not in sequence, it's out of sync, and it's coming back in bits. And And part of that might even be lost. It's not going to come back at all. So in my case, with Gulf War syndrome, dealing with Gulf War syndrome, mental cognition, when it comes to single tasking, I'm able to do that end to end with very seldom any kind of difficulty. However, when you start getting into the multitasking, as long as I have a task or I have something to do or something to memorize, and I keep focused directly on what I'm attempting to accomplish, then I am fine. But you throw in 2 parameters in there, you add on the second one, third one, and so forth, then we have a problem. What happens then, you have 2 more tasks now. They're trying to travel down the same pipeline, but now in the process, they're encountering potholes, right? They hit a pothole along the highway, right? So some of that data is getting lost. It flies off the curb. Think of it as a highway. You just hit the guardrail and you went off the cliff. That's gone, right? Now, this is the receiving end of the data that was here. But by the time it gets to this far end, you'll see that a lot of this, represented by the X's, are broken or missed messages, right? So by the time it ends up at the far end, you do not have a duplicate copy. There's too much missing data in there. There is some of the data that it does not get lost, but it will find an alternate route, right? And it'll come back into the message to compose whatever you're trying to do, the task, the message, whatever it is. It will come back. However, being that it came back late into it, now it's out of sequence. So now my brain has to compensate for that and try to rearrange the message to put it back in the sequence that makes sense, right? Going back real quick to this part right here. Think of it as a train, right? A train you have a train and you have your cabooses and so on, right? Engine is towards the very front to push the train, and then you have all your different parts. And when the message goes out, they're broken into different pieces, right? However, when they're put back together to depart from the train station and come back, now the pieces are out of sequence. So instead of having a train that's composed of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now by the time the message comes back, now it's 1, 5, 3, 4, etc. So you get the picture. Talking about mental cognition with Gulf War veterans, one thing I have observed a lot of Gulf War veterans doing is when you're talking to one, like myself, people will talk to me, and a lot of times I tend to look off, away from them. I don't look at their face. I look off like I'm daydreaming, right? And a lot of people misrepresent that as I'm not interested in what they're telling me. They view that as me, giving them the cold shoulder. And a lot of times I'll squint my eyes, and I'll look off, and they get mad about it because they see it as like, oh, I don't, apparently he doesn't give a crap about what I have to say. But that's not what's going on. I see, I caught another Gulf War veteran. I don't know how true it is for everybody, right? But I caught another Gulf War veteran doing the exact same thing I was doing, right? And what happens is, when people talk to me, a lot of times I look off like I'm daydreaming. And if you look at my face, I squint down, I'll squint, and I'm looking off like I'm daydreaming. But what I'm actually doing in my head, what you are saying to me, I'm replaying a mental picture of that so that my brain can better absorb it, so that I can understand, okay, message received. Now I know what you're talking about. If I don't do that, I get lost a lot. If I try to face you and not replay it in my mind, you might as well start talking in Turkish or Chinese or something. I asked the veteran about that. He lives locally. I met him and we were talking, and I noticed him doing that, and I asked him about it. He, sure enough, he told me he did the same thing. That's one of the coping mechanisms we have adapted in order to try to function in society. With Gulf War veterans and our mental cognition, there's a lot, when it comes to our brains, there's a lot of areas of our brain that are trying to make up for the portions that are deficient, that are lacking. So think of it as this worker over here, he comes over to work, he's drunk, he can't perform his task. However, these workers on this group, they don't want to lose their company bonus, right? They don't want to lose that. So what do? They start covering for this guy over here. Yeah, they're mad about it, but they start covering for this guy because they want to make sure that their productivity level meets the standard in order for their group to receive their bonuses, right? Another thing, mental cognition, when you talk to a Gulf War veteran, right now I'm in pretty good shape. I'm not real loopy. I call it looping. I loop, as in out in La La Land, I call it looping. But when we tend to loop, this especially happens, I would say, when I'm tired. When I start to get tired, it tends to happen a lot more. But our brains have a lot more problems processing thought, being able to function correctly. There's times when you talk to us, we'll be talking with you, and then all of a sudden we get stuck, right? And we sit there like train, and it pops, But you'll see that, and I've noticed if you hear my speech, if you notice my speech pattern, I've noticed this in a lot of Gulf War veterans where I've seen videotapes where their speech pattern compared to previous years has changed. I don't know why. I guess the best thing I can explain why is because, our brain, once again, is doing a lot of compensating for the areas that are deficient. Now, one thing about my looping, to give you a better illustration, right? A lot of times I get a pressure in my head, on the crown, basically in my skull. And it feels like somebody is squeezing my head, and I can feel that pressure, and it balloons up out of one area, right? Now, when that happens, right, whenever that pressure builds up like that, my ability to think straight, to process thought, cognitive functions, seriously degrade. And there's no there's really no set pattern to it. The best that I can describe it is as an analog wavelength. Analog wavelength goes up, down, and that marker's not working. Okay, it goes up, down, etc. Alright? Now, analog wavelengths tend to have the same undulation and amplitude. Right? So basically they stay within the perimeter, whatever it may be, 50 kilohertz, etc. in spacing, amplitude, the spacing between each undulation tend to be the same. That's not my case. I've tried to, when I first started getting these things, I thought maybe I was having a heart attack or something like that. And I tried to time it with my pulse. And they did not pair up. They did not match up to my pulse. So it was totally irrelevant what was happening to me. So what happens to me a lot is when this goes up, right? So you feel the pressure build up. My ability to focus, think, train of thought, whatever, complete a task, that goes down. This comes back down, the pressure goes down, this starts coming back up. This goes back up again, the pressure starts building back up, and this starts going back down. As towards the gapping, how much, intensity, there's no set rule on that. There's really no set rule, because at times when I'm looping, I've had where, it starts off low, and there'll be a short gap, then I get a big spike, and then it comes back down halfway, comes back up, goes back down, and the length of each one is not the same either, because I could have a small one, but it will last a while and hold and then go away, etc. So there's no set pattern, there's no set rhythm, there's nothing I can say, count to it and set a degree level and say, okay, I'm starting to loop, and my loops are hitting me at a 5. They hit me mid-range at a 5. There's nothing, I can't gauge them. I can't gauge them because they never set the same spacing or intensity. I wanted to give the general public a general idea of what Gulf War veterans suffering from Gulf War illness are having to go through, right? Because our brains just don't work. It's mashed potatoes up there. And I'm only able to I'm only able to actually video this because right now my brain's in a pretty good shape. But you hear me doing my loops and I'm pretty much a vegetable laying down on the sofa. I pretty much cannot do anything. I'm going to stop it at that right now, and I hope you guys, continue to tune into my channel, and in the future I plan on building up, going into more detail into different areas like IBS, chronic fatigue syndrome, and all these other different ailments that are associated with Gulf War illness. Also, if you are a Gulf War veteran, right, and you want me to upload any of your videos to the channel, to the YouTube channel, you can contact me at, my email address is gstwt 1960@gmail.com. Again, the email address is Golf Sierra Tango Whiskey Tango 1960@gmail.com. And lastly, for the Veterans Administration, for the VA, Veterans Administration, I do not have a complaint with the medical facilities, with the type of care. I've heard horror stories when it comes to the VA, but so far, when it comes to me dealing with the Veterans Clinic and hospital, I've had excellent care. And, to them, I thank you. They have been excellent to me. And, I salute you guys. You guys do an excellent job. However, my beef and my fight continues to be against the Veterans Benefits Administration. The group of the Veterans Administration, which continues to deny over and over claims submitted by Gulf War veterans. I've been fighting them for years now. And many Gulf War veterans are going through this too. My beef, my complaint, my fight is not just for me. I'm fighting for me. I'm still really low, and I continue to get denounced from the Veterans Administration, the benefits section. Right? However, I want to let you know I'm still here, and I'm not going away, and I continue to fight, and I will continue to put these videos out on YouTube, and I will hit Twitter, Google+, Facebook. If it takes me learning Pinterest, which I have no interest in, right? If that's what it takes, I will do that. But I continue to fight for justice, because many of my Gulf War brothers, many of my Gulf War sisters are suffering. We are in pain, extreme pain. Many are dying. Tumors are common among us. You hear it all the time. Suicide is common among us. You hear it all the time. You hear Gulf War veterans committing suicide because they cannot endure the pain associated with the illness. It is extremely painful, and if you guys at the Veterans Administration, the benefits section, think that I'm going away, it's not going to happen. I'm still going to be doing this. As long as I keep on hearing that my sisters and my brothers from Gulf War I are being mishandled, and they're being rejected and not given the proper aid, the proper help, so that they can live, then the videos will continue on. So you guys want to stop? Knock off the red tape. You want me to stop these videos? Then you guys need to quit playing the little games you're playing and start helping these veterans. They signed on the dotted line, and now it's your part. They signed the dotted line. We held up our end of the bargain. Now it's your turn to hold up yours. I don't want to see all these little posts I see on VBA website, VBA Facebook. Oh, loving our veterans. Oh, doing this for the veterans. Oh, we love you guys. All those little posts, every time I see those things, all they do is just tick me off. You try to portray an image to the general public as, your Mother Teresa or your Pope John Paul. However, you know and I know that's not the real picture. That's not the reality. Reality is a veteran any veteran submit a claim for Gulf War illness, Gulf War syndrome, unless they have a lawyer, your chances of getting your claim approved are slim to none. And guys, you know the illness is real. It's not fantasy. It's not made up. You know it's real. There is a huge amount of scientific data that proves that Gulf War illness is real.